It's another reason why I asked Sean if you had multiple friends to jump off a bridge, would you do it? Not one, because we all know that we all have that friend in the group.
How tall is the bridge, Brandon?
I will come up with a number. I will come up with a number.
Like cooking, everything has a recipe.
A set of instructions to follow in order to gain a certain result.
Music is no different.
Be it ingredients for a dish, a set list for an amazing show,
Or a release strategy for a successful launch.
these are all recipes.
Hi, we're your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brandon.
Come and join us in our kitchen as we go through the Music Makers Cookbook.
Let's get cooking.
Welcome to the Music Makers Cookbook, the podcast where we help independent artists cook up recipes for success in the music industry. I am Sean.
I am Brandon.
And we have an episode for you that's
Yes.
going to be good.
We hope, at least.
Yeah.
Last week's
No,
was...
it will be. If you check our reviews, you'll
Yeah.
know that it's all 5 stars. People love us across the board. We are very good at what we do.
I love it. I love it. That leads us in perfectly with what we're going to talk about today.
It does.
I have a question for you, Sean.
Shoot.
If your friend was to jump off a bridge, would you?
Is there a bungee cord involved?
I didn't think you would have a rebuttal to that.
How tall is the bridge?
I mean...
I need context to these questions,
okay,
Brandon.
okay. Let's say 3 friends jump off a bridge.
Okay, cool. How tall is the bridge?
Science says you're most likely to do it too.
Okay, so what we're doing is
Yeah.
we're continuing our series based on the book Influence by Robert Cialdini. And as Brandon mentioned, the whole saying of if your friend jumps off a cliff, would they jump off with you? That's something known as both peer pressure and also kind of social proof,
Yes.
which is what we're talking about today. Social
Peer
proof.
pressure is so negative. So negative.
It can be.
It does exist, though.
It does.
Yeah, in bad ways.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful. That is bad social proof.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And also like their peers pressure you to, well, I guess if peers pressure you to stop doing something bad, that's called an intervention, not peer pressure.
That is true. So mainly is negative connotations, I think.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
So what is social proof, Brandon?
Semantics. Social proof is this thing where we are most likely to follow the lead of others, especially in times of uncertainty. It is natural human habit to do so. You might also know this as herd mentality. It provides a shortcut to decision making, which we've kind of been talking about through this entire series, which ultimately leads to this being a more click run approach.
Yes.
Go back to the first episode in the series where we talk about click run. It all builds off of that. Click run is very, very important to define if you're listening to this now. If you just picked it up, go back and listen. Very important.
Yep. Every single series, part of the series we've talked about works because on a fundamental level, it works as a click one response. People do it instinctually. That's why they are so effective.
Absolutely.
The brain wants to save energy. That's part of its whole deal is it wants to be lazy and so
It's
doesn't
so
burn too
ass
many calories.
backwards because the brain is amazing.
Yeah, but it's
just
lazy.
like, okay, well, how can I be lazy as fuck? It's great. I love the brain. Me and the brain would be homies.
They should be? I mean,
Sometimes mine's not.
oh no, well, that's fair.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
depends
okay.
how much coffee I have that day, you know.
If I drug it, then we're on
Exactly. So we're good. That sounds really bad.
It does.
That
Yeah,
sounds
don't-
really
don't-
bad.
don't
We're
quote
not going
that.
to talk about that
Yeah.
anymore. Don't clip that, please.
But no, as you were saying, like every single thing we've talked about is based on click run on an instinctual level. We just do it. That's why they're so effective. That's why it can be a powerful tool for you to help increase your career, but also be something that can be powerfully used against you to take advantage of you in certain situations, which as every single episode, we're going to talk about that at the end, ways you can use it and then ways that you can be aware of it in the future. But before we dive in, like every single other episode, Brandon's going to start theorizing about it, tell you about what it means.
Yeah.
Diving
So
deep.
now that we kind of defined it, like why do we do this as human beings? And mostly it's driven by the belief that others around us inherently know more than we do at a specific situation. And like I said, especially in times of uncertainty, if you go outside, like the solar eclipse is coming soon. I think it's like March or something, beginning of March. When we go outside, you're going to see people looking up at the sky at a certain time of day, and you're probably going to do it too because that is just the way that we function.
Like, why is everyone looking up?
Exactly. Well, now I'm going to look up.
Yeah.
Boom, click run. You didn't even know you did it. Now, you probably shouldn't be staring at the sun. I don't think they recommend that, you know, and if you do, get some glasses that maybe protect your eyes. I'm not responsible for your optical health.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully everyone that is looking at the sun is wearing glasses. So
Yeah.
the first click run response is, why is everyone wearing glasses? I put my glasses on.
Exactly.
And
And then if you're wearing bifocals, then you'll like really cook your eyes because it'll magnify it. Yeah, exactly.
That's how you get superpowers. Not how you get superpowers.
It's not. You get bit by a spider. That's how you get superpowers.
That's how you-
Yeah. But it's definitely more powerful though when people appear to be more knowledgeable about a certain situation or more authoritative about it. We will talk about authority next week.
Yep.
That is on the docket. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but that is generally how it's conceived. The magnitude of which we comply with the social proof is magnified by those two instances.
I mean, a part of what you're saying is the whole thing of if someone is doing something that I normally wouldn't do, there's the assumption of, oh, they might know or they must know something that I don't.
Yep.
The example that he gives in the book is this guy who was at an art auction who wanted to buy a painting. And as the bidding goes up and up and up, it reaches the point that the auction house is like, yeah, it's worth $100,000. And then it goes past 100,000. It goes all the way up to like 180,000 or something. And afterwards, the guy who buys it, they talk afterwards because he drops out. He's like, I can't pay that. And the other guy's like, yeah, I thought you knew something I didn't know. And he's like, I thought you knew something I didn't know.
Yeah.
So they're both like, fuck, we just paid it. You made me pay $80,000 more than I needed to. And he's like, I would have paid $80,000 more than I needed to.
And these bidding auctions, they're probably like a really great example of doing just this because you get so caught up in the moment. So not only do you have the mindset of social proof, what does this guy know that I don't, but you also have the value of scarcity coming into play. That is more of a behavioral economics thing, which we will actually talk about. Which is 2 episodes from now. So we will talk about that. So like I said, everything that we're talking about really stacks on top of each other and really intermingles with each other. It's really cool to kind of learn this and put this reasoning behind some of the things that we do.
Yeah, I think we should do like a mega episode afterwards.
We should, like a big review.
The whole thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely down with that. I think that's a great idea because I think that's really important to kind of like maybe connect the pieces together.
Like the artist's guide to influence. And
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
See, we're just coming up with ideas on the spot. This is our decision-making process. We're very quick run and then we do a controlled run approach.
Yeah, welcome to the sneak peek in the kitchen.
Yeah.
The folding doors opened up and now you can see into the cooking location.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Trying to keep on brand there. On brand done. Puns. There we go.
That was good.
Anyways, continue on. I love you talking about the theories of it, so keep on enlightening me.
Really only a couple more things to kind of add on top of this. The reason why we do this exactly is to make sure we don't make mistakes. We are programmed to be very cautious and very safe with what we do.
Just kind of relate back to last episode of liking. If you want to be liked.
Yep. This is a survival mechanism. And the reason why we do this, like I said, is because we believe we'll incur or create less mistakes if we follow the leads of others at certain points where we are not as knowledgeable of the situation. So that is exactly why we do it. But this can be applied to many more things, which we will actually start to talk about right now, than other than just like surviving out in the world, or following the leads of others at the grocery store or whatever the case may be, right? You can actually apply this to your music and to your business and make it work for you. Like I said, in other episodes, there are the caveats that this could be used for manipulation at some point, which we will talk about very briefly in this episode. We've really touched on it a lot with the previous episodes. We've really harped on some of the things that could happen. This one's pretty like kind of straightforward with like some of the like the negative stuff that can kind of happen. But I last thing is, I just want to mention this because you put this down and I think it's really important to reiterate. This is very click run. This is very instinctual. So
yeah, this is probably one of the easiest ones to just kind of go along. Yeah. Because it is one of the most in the back of the head, just automatic responses of, if people are doing this, I'm gonna think that's good. It's one of the hardest ones to take that step back and say like, okay, is this a click run response? Can I make it an active click run response, not just an automatic one? And we're gonna be kind of talking into all that. And I'm sure, and the more you look into it, because the more we talked about it, the more we looked into it, the more it's like, oh yeah, crap, that's also social proof. That's social proof. This is influenced by it. This is automatic. And it gets like this whole freaking book. Yeah. It gets pretty intense.
It's a hefty book. And and like Sean and I really like actually said this before we started today. We could harp on the theory for the entire podcast episode. We could talk about everything he talks about in the book, but we encourage you to go read the book or listen to the book on your own. So that way you can sometimes make your own decisions about this too. And maybe like come up with your own ideas as well. We're not here to do a book report. We're here to apply it to the Makers Cookbook.
Yeah. Our focus is how does this apply to you?
Yes.
This whole concept of social proof. Speaking of which, let's kind of dive into how it can apply to you, how it applies to artists, what metrics are, things to look out for, and just kind of further go into the application of this philosophy, not just the idea behind it.
Absolutely.
You asked me a question at the start of this. I'm going to ask you a question in response. Have you and your family, or you and your fiance, anybody looked like, hey, we're hungry, we're going out for dinner. Let's look at restaurants nearby and see what's a good place to go. Be like, this place has 3.8 stars. This place has 4.5 stars.
Do it all the time.
And more likely to pick the 4.7 star place or the 4.2 star space if they have the same kind of food.
Depends on how many people have reviewed it at that point.
Let's say they both have around 100 views.
Okay.
and they're both around the same distance from your house.
Give me the better one. Give me the better one each and every time. Unless I know specifically that the other one is a little bit better.
Yeah, like unless a specific friend recommends the other one. But even still,
yeah,
even
that,
that's
you know,
0.5 higher.
Exactly. Yeah, give me the 4.7 or whatever it was, you know, every day.
Oh, yeah.
Every day. Yeah, I want my money to go to something valuable.
Exactly. And there's like, there's a bunch of people who said this is positive. The same thing, Amazon takes huge advantage of this, where they have the 5-star reviewing system. This product has 10,000 reviews and it's 4.3 stars. So that's got to be one of the best ones because the most people have used it and it's still got a favorable outcome to it.
Absolutely. Amazon's a great example of this.
Yeah.
And they're also a great example of what not to do too.
But yeah, like they live on social proof. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's like reviews are one of the most prevalent metrics of social proof. And it is such that automatic response of, this one's got more than 4.5 stars with over 100, like a 1,000 reviews or whatever.
Yeah.
That's got to be good. I'm just going to buy it. I'm going to stop looking at all the other ones. I'm not going to compare the statistics, the stats and whatnot, unless that's the kind of person you are, which sometimes I'm that kind of person in certain details.
Sure.
But if you're just like, I need this, it doesn't matter which brand it is, I just want a good one. This one's got the highest reviews. That's the one.
Call it a day, right?
Yep.
Yeah. The price isn't the only distinguisher, right? It's going to be social proof. And not only that, something that tacks onto the reviews is word of mouth. Word of mouth is also a review in some sort of way. You might not go on the internet and see it necessarily, but if you have a very trusting friend, Sean comes up to me and says, hey, this audio place is great. Go buy your stuff from here. I'm more inclined to go check it out because I trust Sean's opinion. Yeah,
that's social proof on a smaller scale.
On a very smaller scale, but very important though, because word of mouth is extremely important. It's still to this day. To this day. Absolutely.
Yeah. So reviews is one of the biggest ones. Directly in terms of how it can be used for you as an artist is tickets sold. If you have a show going on and it says like within like a day, it's like tickets sold out. Well, now it becomes kind of a more desirable show for people to want to go to because it's popular. Like, oh, whoa, it's sold out already. People want to go to this. Now I'm more intrigued.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, why did everybody buy it? I need to find tickets. I want to see if somebody can resell it.
Enter scalpers.
Exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But tickets sold is another metric of how popular is this thing. Yeah. Should I be interested in the show based on how many people are going to it? And if it's sold out, then holy crap, people really want to go. And now I'm more interested in it.
Yeah, yeah. That also plays with scarcity too. I want to mention that because then now it's like, oh, well, now I really want to go. I got to find tickets now. Now you're willing to pay a little bit more because tickets are a little bit more scarce. So
the value goes up because the amount goes down. What is it? Supply and demand and all that
Supply and demand.
Yeah.
Supply
you're going to have a heyday in the scarcity thing because you love talking about economic stuff.
I'm already warming up my hands, man.
There we go.
Yeah, dude. The next metric that we talk about a lot, that we harp on a lot, very common. This is usually the go-to for a lot of people: followers, likes, and shares. That's like followers, especially. That seems to be a very big metric that we as humans like to see, which makes sense though, because social proof is led by groups of people, majority of people, multiple people at this point. I mean, it doesn't even have to be 300. It can be 10. It could be 5. It could be 3. 3's a crowd, right? So this is the one that we harp on a lot. You know, people will go out of their way to buy followers. People will go out of their way to do some crazy contests to get followers. But it is a valid metric still to at least take into consideration when you're going to be investing your time or money into something or someone.
Yeah, because it shows once again that, hey, people are paying attention to this. And it gets to that point. We talk about this in the artist's hierarchy of needs, where it's like once you have a following, once you have people's eyes on you, it becomes an asset to where like other businesses may want to sponsor you or give you gear for you to use on stage or a review that points back to them. They want access to your fan base and whatnot, which is the next metric of social proof is how many fans you have. If it's on Spotify, how many monthly listeners you have.
Spotify knew what they were doing with the monthly listener count. They really did because that one is massive on Spotify.
Well, and see, here's the thing. One thing about social proof that, going back to the theory real quick, that Cialdini dives into is he talks about in the restaurant industry, there's an example of restaurants wanting to sell more of a particular dish. So they tried a bunch of different labelings on it, like freshest ingredients, this, that, whatever, to describe the food. The one that had the most noticeable increase in sales was when they labeled it fan favorite or best selling.
Yep.
People seeing like, oh, well, if it's the best selling, that means it's got like, it's the most popular. It must be good because people are buying it the most. And it shot up like 20%, I think,
something like
of
that.
sales, which is crazy. And this is part of the reason why Spotify was smart enough to put this metrics out there, make it forefront, because people can say, oh, this artist has 5,000 monthly listeners. This artist has 1,000 monthly listeners. I'm going to listen to this guy first because it seems like more people are interested in. And the biggest thing they did is they show which songs are the most popular on the Spotify page. They have the top 5 and it shows you right next to it. This is like 1,000,000 plays. This has 200 million plays. This has 5,000 plays. Which one are you going to play first?
Yep.
If you're scrolling through an album and you want to learn about the artist, you're going to go to the one that has the most plays first, the most popular one, because you just assume this is the best they have to offer.
Exactly.
Before you maybe dive into the full album, or if you're just trying to find a new artist or whatnot.
Yep, absolutely. This is where Apple's Music takes a huge L, by the way, in my opinion, because basing or using this social proof to like engage with potential listeners, prospective listeners, but it also uses social proof in terms of the artist, because the artist wants to draw people to Spotify to increase those metrics so they are able to magnetize more people to listen to them. Spotify did something awesome here for themselves. It's not always awesome as a listener sometimes because those can be botted, right? So like, and they have been trying to crack down on botting. We definitely don't recommend using botted playlists. We've seen people's stuff get taken down before.
Oh yeah, even people who don't use botted playlists.
Yeah.
If it just happens to get through the cracks. Like I have a client who this is the second time his album got taken down. And this time he lost his whole account on Spotify and I contacted them directly to get it back because he uses Groover. And the first time he used them and Submit Hub.
Yes.
And his whole album got taken down. Well, then he's like, you know what, fuck, I'm not going to use Submit Hub. I'm just going to use Groover because it's recommended by my by the publishing company. So I'm going to just use Groover. Once again, they were like, hey, we think there's bots here. We're taking your music down right away. And he was working with somebody who was about to send his song to different radios that Friday around the country. And his songs had some military references to them. So they were going to be sent to military camps and whatnot.
Oh, interesting.
And he's like, my whole catalog's taken down. And in 5 days, radio stations all along the East Coast are going to be playing my music.
Yep.
And people can't find my music now.
Yep.
And it's like, shit. And he did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And also, the company was like, hey, so also because we see that there's bots here, we're not going to pay you your royalty check because we think it's fraudulent.
That's brutal.
So he's worrying about that right now.
Yeah.
And this is if you don't use these things.
Yeah.
If you use these things actively, it's even worse. You don't have, like, it's less likely that these companies will work with you to get you reinstated. So this is a cautionary tale. It's really frustrating. I've been trying to talk to him and then working with him about cleaning it up and getting it back together because it's just a mess. But be aware of all that.
It's just unfortunate that would happen, you know? And like you said, this is a thing where he wasn't even using these services to bot his listeners, you know?
Like one person got on Groover that used bots and now all of a sudden his whole catalog is down.
Yep. And I think that's why we're going to lead to the next part is because it's just to be aware of these vanity metrics, right? And know that these are not always the tale of the story a lot of the time.
Yeah.
This is our first really kind of negative thing that we're kind of bringing up about this a little bit because as this happened to your client, right? I'm sure it's happening to other people right now
all the time
who are suffering because people are botting. And so Spotify has probably made an algorithm or hired a team of people to sift through certain filters, right, that they have and are like, oh yeah, this is not real or this is fake. And people are going to fall victim to this, right, on any platform like Instagram, well, not really Twitter anymore. I mean, Instagram's probably like the biggest thing, but like they're very less likely to like ban your account or anything. But you might fall victim to it on Instagram. And thinking that some other people might have some gaudy numbers. Maybe they're looking for a feature. Maybe there's like the band managers, you know, out there that we talked about last week who are trying to sign you to get an upper hand in your finances or something, right? People have botted these or had made accounts previously. Say take a video game example. So somebody runs a video game account. The account gets very popular because of shorts on Instagram. All of a sudden they sell that account and then you take it over and then rebrand it, right? So it looks like you have all these followers and they were legitimate at one time, but they're not really anymore because that wasn't the point of their follow, right? So this is something to be increasingly aware of if you're looking for social proof metrics out there.
Oh yeah, and it shows the importance of doing it legit and how when it is legit, there are other metrics that go in underneath it. Like we had It's Ernie on as an interview for this podcast, episode 32. Highly recommend checking out because he talked about social media and kind of how to build up your following in an authentic, real way. Which we started implementing on our own end, and it's been seeing some success. We're very thankful to you, Ernie. But
he just texted me, by the way.
Oh, did he?
That's
like
so
right
funny.
now?
Yeah, right now. That's so funny.
But yeah, so he talks about how he has 170,000 followers on TikTok and Instagram. But if you actually look at his account, you see engagement. People are responding. They're sharing. There's numbers underneath it that validate that social proofing, which adds more social proofing to it because it's not just, oh yeah, he's got 1 million subscribers, but he's only getting like 100 views per video.
Exactly.
It's like, wait a minute.
Yep. Something's not really adding up there.
Yeah. So if you are reached out by somebody who's like, man, I'd love to have you featured on my song. I got 500,000 followers. So, you know, you're going to get a lot of exposure, man, and all this shit. Actually take a time and dive into it and be like, well, he's only got 50 people watching.
Yeah. Don't let it be such a click run response. Make sure you take your time and make it a controlled run response. Do your research, do your due diligence, and have some sort of a criteria that you base it off of, I think.
Yep.
And you need to learn what that criteria is too. Like that is definitely like a seasoned vet kind of thing. Like, what am I looking for specifically? Because I guarantee you all these companies have that going on right now, and they have very specific guidelines of what they're looking for in people's social medias, people's Spotify's, whatever the case may be. So you need to have that too.
Moving on from that, these are like the big numbers that really represent social proof, the reviews, the likes, and all that stuff. There are some other kind of different metrics that still represent social proof that you can use to your advantage and you make sure you're aware of. One of the big ones that I'm thinking of is depending on the playlist that your song is in, if you get in the right playlists that are made for your desired fan base, whether people that you want to attract as your fans or people who are already your fans, if you're in a playlist with a lot of other artists that your fan base also enjoys, that is a term of that is a social proof in of itself, because it's saying, hey, my music belongs with these other songs that we know you like. It's like, oh, I like all these other bands and this band is with those bands, so I might like that band. Let me list them. Why are they in with these bands? There must be a reason why they're with all these other bands that I enjoy. I'm gonna give them a listen. So that's why it's really important to, one, please, if you haven't, I know a lot of smaller artists and starting artists don't have their own curated playlists on their Spotify pages. This is a feature for a reason. Build a playlist and tag yourself to as many artists. Not like, don't overflow like 1,000 songs on it. Don't bloat it. Be super intentional. But like, hey, this artist hits this kind of fan base that likes this kind of music. My music also hits fans who like that kind of music. So I'm going to put both of them in this playlist together. So that when they come to me, they can stick around and my stuff's kind of spreading throughout it. That's something that Ernie does with his stuff is he does
Crazy Bars
I've Heard. So I forgot the first word.
Yep, Crazy Bars I've Heard, hooks you'll never forget.
Exactly. And he occasionally puts his music in because he knows that people are going to come for the other artists that they enjoy. And while they're there, they might see him and then they might find it because they're related to a degree. Playlist is one of the easiest and best ways for you to do this. Doing quick acoustic covers and social media and tagging them in, things like that is another ways to do it.
Absolutely. That's great. Okay, I got to say, Leah, if she's watching this right now, hello. She does a phenomenal job with this. She does a lot of acoustic covers on Instagram, and she'll get the actual artists reaching out to her being like, this was awesome, or sharing it on their page, sharing it on their story, whatever the case may be. I just told her like literally 2 days ago, I was like, dude, how do you get so many big names to talk to you, right? Like, it's just an impressive talent, you know, but she also puts in the work to put the covers out and tag these artists and like build these relationships online with them, and it's led her to some pretty cool collaborations along the way. So
for sure,
yeah, that's just a really kind of cool social concept, or social proof example.
Yeah, super dope.
Yeah. I think one thing that kind of shares this light a little bit is not only the playlist, but being put on the ticket with other bands during a live show. So I mean, this has been around forever now. There's obviously association between. Maybe sometimes light association between you and the bands on a specific ticket.
Or in the main act.
Exactly.
There's usually a similarity between the two.
Exactly. There's a reason why promoters put these guys on the same bill together, because they think, oh, if I curate this correctly, a lot of this will translate to each band. Like a lot of the listeners here will translate to liking the first band, liking the second band, liking the third band, right? Because the sounds are maybe similar, or maybe the attitudes are similar.
And it's similar.
Exactly.
Like, hey, we want people to come out here, stay the whole night, go to the bar, give the venue money. So we want people to we want these bands to be at least somewhat related, so people want to come for the full experience.
Absolutely.
Which is why we talk about in our live series, there's power behind making your show an event that attracts these people and incentivizes them to stay the whole time, because it's better for you, better for the venue, better for all the other bands. Especially if you're just starting off and there's a big band in the scene you're able to do it with that ties you in with them and that validates you through the social proof of all that.
Absolutely.
Anyways, go back.
And piggybacking off of the curated shows and headliners, whatever, the acts, right? Is also being able to tag the artists in there, tag the venues, and having them tag you, because that's additional social proof that is added on top of this experience that you already have to go play. You already have to do it. So promote it, tag other people, have them tag you. And then it creates this webbing kind of social proof.
Yeah, like, hey, there's this whole series.
Yeah.
Everything is going back to you. That's what SEO is. SEO social proof.
And we will talk about that.
It comes back again. We've been hinting this for so long. We got to tackle SEO.
You know what's crazy, though, is
Episode 50.
I fixed my SEO on my site, and I've had so many leads within the past week. So, like, dude, like, I think I'm ready for the SEO talk now.
Fuck yeah.
Episode it's like 50, the birds and the bees.
That's a big one. I think episode 50 with SEO, that'll be good.
Yeah, it's like the birds and the bees.
Welcome to the kitchen again.
I love it. Okay, but at the shows,
yeah,
you know, what's some social proof at the shows? Wearing merch, kind of cool.
Yeah,
because you also make some money off of it. Kind of sweet. Not only that, mosh pits. You ever been in a mosh pit?
I have. Yeah,
I have too.
Yep.
I got my shit wrecked.
Did you?
No, I got pushed though.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I fell because he started the mosh pit with me.
Oh.
So like, and it was from behind.
What?
Pause. But yeah, and
so he just runs up and shoves you.
Yeah, he just shoved me.
It's like mosh.
I was like, what the fuck? You know. So, but I've been the walls of a pit too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've experienced both, kind of.
Yeah.
So have you been in a mosh pit too?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't like a kill pit or whatever.
No, it wasn't a death
crowd
pit
killing
or whatever. Crowd killing.
Yeah, crowd killing. Yeah. Don't do that. That's such pussy shit. I'm so sorry. Like,
I mean,
nobody.
I don't disagree.
Nobody likes a crowd killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't know what that is, you can go look up the video. But if you get in trouble for looking it up or whatever. It sounds really bad. So don't look it up. That's not my responsibility.
But you're saying any big event that happens at a show or anywhere that like, oh, all these people are doing this, so I'm gonna do it too. Yeah. Mosh pit is just a very loud, visceral example of it. But
super click run response.
Super click run.
Yeah.
Either I want to get in or I want to go away.
Emotional click run.
Yeah. But the same thing happens if like you're playing a local show and you get half people to come up at the start of your set. Everyone who's out by the bar be like, why is everyone going up to the front of the stage? I'm gonna go to the front of the stage too. Even something as simple as that is just pulling people up. So like starting off with one of your most popular songs to grab people's attention and urging them throughout the song to come up, come closer, come to the stage. If we want to, want to see your faces, whatever, like encouraging them to engage in you in a specific way. That is a way of social proofing itself. It shows that, hey, there's a motion, there's attention, there's activity happening here. I mean, you talked about a couple times when you worked for the radio station, how a big part of what you were doing was to look busy. You wanted people to come.
It was
to your
all
tent.
social proof based.
It was all social proof based.
It was like we had to have the music going. We had to be lively. We had to be interacting with people, even if they were just walking past us. Had to be handing stuff out. Had to be trying to lure people in. Sounds really bad. Lure people in though to like enter into our contest, take pictures with. Add on top of that the sponsor of some of the events, right? So Bud Light would be sponsoring some of our events, and they would want the social proof that would also back up like, oh, people are here to drink Bud Light. So it was our job to get that social proof, even if it was staged. We did do staging, like there was staging, full disclosure, but like. It looked good though. Like whenever you posted it to Facebook, people had a Bud Light in their hand. That's exactly what we're looking for. That's exactly what Bud Light was looking for. That was our job. So lots of social proof that went into that one. Tons of social proof. Yeah. I wish I had some of those photos still. The radio station doesn't exist anymore, which is why I'm so candid with talking about this right now. Yeah. But I wish I could go back and see some of those because like they would be a perfect example to like post up somewhere, and show how you can kind of do social proof maybe on your own, I want to go back to like what you were kind of talking about is that with the mosh pits also comes maybe a negative, right? If people are just standing there, hands in their pockets, they go to the bar after like during your set or something, that's also contagious.
Oh yeah, because people are leaving, that's social proof too.
People get awkward, right? So like they don't want to be the first person to go up there all the time, right? And people are standing around looking on their phone, like then other people are like, oh yeah, me too, right? So it's like, there's a fine line, and that's like maybe another negative part of social proof is that it could work against you in certain ways. And I think we do have that later on too. I'm so bad because I just lure people in. I'm like, okay, but later on,
later on, stick around.
Not now.
I'll give you the goods later. Stick around.
Feels like I'm trying to sell something, and I promise you I'm not. We just have it outlined in a specific way, but that is definitely like a negative kind of thing that can happen and be a detriment to your social proof.
But no, it's a good point because to a degree, like there's the saying of it's not necessarily the leader that's the most important. It's not necessarily the first person to do something that has the most impact. It's the second person. It's the first follower that makes it a group that pulls other people to do it. Because if you have one person doing something, like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, they're just the outlier.
They're just the outlier.
Yep.
But then two people started doing it. Like, oh, wait a minute.
Like, okay, this is a little bit normal. Yeah.
Like, what was the thing in the book? He's like, if one of your friends tells you have a tail, you're like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
No, that's weird. But if 5 of your friends tell you you have a tail,
Yeah.
you're turning around.
Yes,
you're
that was
looking.
a great
You're
example.
looking.
It's another reason why I asked Sean if you had multiple friends to
Mm-hmm.
jump off a bridge, would you do it? Not one, because we all know that we all have that friend in the group.
How tall is the bridge, Brandon?
I will come up with a number. I will come up with a number. Okay. But we all have that one friend in the group that will do it.
Oh yeah.
And like we all know, like, dude, that dude's an idiot. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, but
Why
he's
you fucking jump
but
off a
he's
bridge?
fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, like that was fun watching him. But like then you have like the semi-smart one in the group that's like, oh, I'm gonna go do it too. And then you're like, all right, I'll go do it.
Yeah, I guess everyone's doing it.
Let's
Yeah,
go. Yeah, everyone's doing it. You know. So that's just how easy it can spread, though, right? So, but it can also spread the negative way.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, moving on to how to use it to benefit and cut through the herd mentality. There are things that you can do to kind of take advantage of this whole scarcity thing. We really docked kind of heavy into it on some of the metrics and like followers and playlists and all that, since that's social proofing to a degree. But if you really want to cut through a crowd, like let's say everyone is walking away from the stage after your first song and you want them to get back. If you just say, hey, come back, everybody, or like, hey, we got a great song coming up, come close to the stage, there's no clear direction. If there's something that's integrated inside of like the human brain, the mentality of it, of that, the assumption of, oh, somebody else will do it. Like when there's a car crash on the side of the road, oh, somebody else will call it in.
Yeah.
Or when things happen, it's like, oh, I'm not going to do this because somebody else probably has.
Right.
There's that assumption being made.
He made the example of the heart attack, right? So like
Yes.
you're at a concert, at the end of the concert, you're starting to feel these symptoms or a stroke, and you feel the symptoms of a stroke coming on, and you go sit on the side, and you have crowds of people just walking past you, and you clearly need medical attention, right? You need to be able to call out to somebody and make a specific action to them. Be like, because like people don't know what to inherently do in these situations. And sometimes these situations you can think of as embarrassing. So he actually was like, don't think of having a stroke as embarrassing, because I know some people would. I know I would. I'd be like, I don't want anybody to look at me right now.
Yeah, he's like, well, would you rather be embarrassed or have a stroke?
Yeah, exactly. So even like a miscue on a medical issue, right? It might be embarrassing if you don't have one, but who cares at the end of the day, because then you'll still be alive even if you do get medical attention. But that's to say, though, is that you still need to make sure you call out to somebody and give them a specific action to do, because that won't be taken unless you do so.
Yeah, because people don't know what they don't know. If you just say, help,
Yep.
what is that about? Is it
Right.
someone playing a game and they're like calling out or something? Like something, is there a real issue going on and whatnot? And the example he gave, the guy slumps over having the stroke or whatever. Like, well, is this just a drunk from this party or whatever, or is this person having a medical emergency? Everyone else is moving by, so they just keep moving by. So if people are walking away from the stage or whatnot, and you're trying to get them to stay there or come back or whatnot, don't be afraid to point out somebody specifically.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, you in the Hawaiian shirt, you're gonna love this next song. Stay here.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And something that you can actually do to back this up a little bit is have a little bit of more of authority on your side. If you can establish a little bit more authority in yourself, and you should be able to, because you are the act that's going on right there. There are probably specific ways to do it, which we might go into further next episode. But if you can have that extra authority, that will also help the social proof side of things. And like once you start, like once you convince somebody to come over, and you can convince somebody else to come over, and you have this kind of authority, other people will be drawn to that. That is just naturally, as humans, I'm foreshadowing into the future of a podcast episode for us. But I just wanted to put that in there. That is kind of important too. So
Yeah, for sure. But anything you can do to specifically point out specific people to do specific things. Yeah. Like let's say you see a couple out there and everyone's walking away or whatnot. It can be like, hey, you in the blue shirt, grab that pretty lady and come up to the thing with us. I'm like, whoa, well, shit, he's telling me exactly what he wants me to do. So like, fuck, mate.
yeah.
I guess we'll come up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a compliment too. So it's like, oh, we like this guy or
Absolutely.
whatever. And like,
And there's an art to this.
there is an art. It's going to take a long time for you to get right, but there is a art to stage presence of being engaging. We talk about it in our live series about how venue owners and bookers, like they're just as interested in how you interact with the crowd as they are with how good your music is.
Absolutely.
So something really you should be rehearsing.
Yep.
But that's how you kind of cut through it.
Yes.
If people are doing something you don't want them to do, or you need to get someone to like the attention of someone specifically, because once people start seeing someone do it, they're more inclined to do it as well. Then
Exactly.
you start moving social proofing on your position as well.
I do kind of want to take the time to mention the clackers kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think right here, I think this is a good point to mention them. Do you want to explain the clackers? You'll probably explain it better than I would, though.
Yeah?
Do you
Want
want
to jump into it?
Yeah, go ahead if you
Okay.
want. Yeah. I'm just saying this right now because this is kind of like what we're talking about, so we might as well throw it in right now, I think.
Yep. So a cracker is a small wheat pastry thing that you can
Clackers.
put.
Clackers.
Oh, clackers. My bad. We're kitchen. You know, food. I'm thinking about whatever. Okay, I was gonna give my
Cheese and crackers
I was
after
gonna give
the
my
show?
I was gonna give my what is that? The board called?
Oh, charcuterie.
Charcuterie. I was gonna bring my charcuterie board recipe,
Yeah.
but I guess we'll talk about that another day.
Oh, we should bring one time. That'd be fun.
But no, a clacker is a French operatic term where they would hire people to come to their opera show to have over-the-top reactions, to react in a certain way to what was going on stage, to encourage other people to do it as well. For example, if you had a clacker that specialized in crying when there was a sad part of the opera, they would bawl their eyes out and just weep. And that would encourage people that, oh yeah, this is sad. I'm gonna, cry as well. And if I cry, I'm not weird because this person's doing it already. It's not alone. Or
Makes it
that's
okay.
what laugh tracks are in,
Yes.
have you ever seen Friends?
Yeah,
Big
Friends,
Bang Theory?
I was about to say the Big Bang Theory.
Boom.
Yeah.
But yeah, they way overused it.
Yes,
But
they did.
yeah, it makes things seem more funny and you're more inclined to be happy and laugh along with it because you have the sound of this emotion going on. If you've ever seen one of those sitcoms without the laugh track,
Schitt's Creek.
it's just awkward.
I love Schitt's Creek.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's so good.
Nice.
It is a little awkward though, because sometimes you're not always cued in on when to laugh or when a joke
Exactly.
is being made. So those extra cues help you kind of disseminate between like, oh, should I laugh here or should I not laugh here? Is it appropriate? The better question is it appropriate to laugh here? Because usually that is a shared emotion through other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where clackers, kind of the old concept meets the new concept, where you can kind of do something similar by encouraging, sometimes even like paying or bribing your friends, your family to come to your shows, especially when you're just starting off and you don't have like a fan base in the area quite yet. Getting the people that care about you, who want to help you, to show up and be engaging, not just be there, not just stand around, like engage in your performance, to
That can
clap,
even be
make
difficult too,
noise.
yeah.
Like wear your merch at the show. Be like, oh, these people are wearing the merch.
Yep.
Oh, why are they wearing? It must be a good band if people are like showing up for this band. So I'm gonna stick around. I'm gonna listen to them. Or like, oh crap, there's people cheering. Like I'm at the bar and there's cheering out there. Okay, well, I'm gonna see what's going on here.
Exactly.
That kind of just emotional and noise and visual pull. That's basically what a clacker is.
Yeah.
Now historically, that's more something that's been planted there, and even though like kind of bringing your friends and family is kind of planting them there, but if they really, you want to make sure that they actually
Or holding them hostage there.
yeah, exactly. Handcuff them to the railing on the side of the dance floor. Yeah, that's what you need to do.
Yep.
Don't do that. But that's basically what the modern clacker is, and kind of having them there to make noise to get people's attention.
And this can be done too through merch too,
Yes.
right? So like a lot of the time, it's interesting. So a lot of the time I see artists when they're coming up with new merch, their first thing is how do I generate a lot of sales? First thing. You should know that you're probably going to eat some of that cost right away.
Eating all of it right up the front.
Well, right off the front, because you got to order it first and you have to have the designer sign off on it. And then you got to pay the designer either upfront fee, commission, or both. Commission, I mean, wow, that would probably be really expensive. But I'm not sure how it's done these days exactly, but
It's done however you want to do it.
yeah, exactly.
Anyways.
But first one, like the first thing that you should know is that you're probably going to incur some kind of fee from yourself where you just kind of just give people merch, right? Because that's kind of like the smartest thing to do. So that way people are actually toting your merch for free at these shows. So that way they're not always inclined to go buy something from you right away. Yes, you should support your creative friends. I'm a full believer in that for sure.
Yeah.
Like if you have the means to buy the shirt, by all means. Not everybody has the means these days to buy a shirt. You know, it's a very, very expensive right now. So you should know kind of going into it, because you're buying them at cost too, right? For the most part, that you're going to eat a little bit of that. But the more people that you kind of give out your merch to a certain degree, there's diminishing marginal return there. Yeah. Maybe the better though, because you might make extra sales off of that, right?
So this relates to the free sample thing, and if you really want to dive deeper into whatever
Great
brand is
point.
talking
That's
about,
awesome.
check out our episode on the law of reciprocity.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Because we really dive into what you should be giving out, where you should be giving it out on a live show to get people invested in what you're doing and potentially buy something from your merch booth.
Yes.
So don't give out free shirts,
Necessarily. That's not necessarily what we're saying, right?
Yeah, but there are stuff you can do, and we talk about in the law of reciprocity. So
stickers, pics. Jonathan, who has been a very avid supporter of our podcast, was here on Thursday, and he like pulled out a pic, and he was like, "Dude, check out this pic that I made," and it was his band logo. And on the back, it had his Spotify QR code on it.
But dude,
I was like, dude, like this is fucking awesome. I took a picture of it and I'll send it to you because I was like, dude, I have to take a picture of this. He's like, please, whatever.
Yeah.
That can be something, right?
Did he get that idea from us? Did he say?
I have no idea if he did.
Oh man, it'd be great.
I didn't ask
because I had the post about QR codes on cards and stuff like that,
did.
and we also talked about the pics and all that. So now I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean that would be good. Maybe he did. I'll ask him. We'll see. But
yeah, there's creative ways you can do
exactly.
encourage people to take that next step.
You're fostering this social proof.
And as you mentioned, the whole point of it is to have it look like you're busy, things are happening. Like social proofing is a big part of having a merch booth. If people are all over there, other people are going to go by to check out what's for sale.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you know, give something out. Like say, hey, we have free picks by the merch booth.
Yep.
Fuck it up all the time.
But you did it though.
Because I had to pause and say it again.
But that's okay.
But
we can cut the pause. Fuck it. You know?
Yes, if I don't forget to. There's so many mistakes in these podcasts, and it's fucking fantastic.
It's awesome, dude. We're so authentic.
I'm so authentic, dude. But no, if you go there, like if you have a group of people there, like give shit away.
Yeah, absolutely. And like this is to start the fostering of social proof. This is very early on, right? If you have an established fan base at this point, probably don't give out as much, but you still can in little spurts. Like I'm thinking big ticket items like shirts and stuff. Like a fire doesn't start by like not giving it kindling, not giving it lighter fluid. You know, you're not waiting for lightning to strike your bonfire, right? And then cause the fire. Like sometimes you do need to facilitate that extra helping hand and sparking something that could help later on. Do it a couple times, reevaluate, see how much money that you have to put into it, see how much return you're getting off of it. This is where good record keeping comes into play. And then also knowing how to decipher those numbers and use them as a business, right? And making sure that you're making a return on your investment at this point. But it's a good way to facilitate the social proof and maybe spark something that you see 3 people wearing a shirt, then they're like, oh, I'm going to go check out the merch booth because those look like nice quality shirts, nice quality designs. I like the colors, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, other people are wearing it, so I can see how it's going to look like and all that stuff.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Right. Mind if I move on real quick?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So we just talked for a couple minutes about more than a couple minutes. We like talking about live stuff. It's fun.
We talk about live stuff a lot.
That's where my whole background is. So I keep going into it.
I have no background in it. So. But I still talk about it.
But moving on from social proof in a live setting, in a physical setting of people are here, we're all around it. Social media also has a high level of social proofing.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about how in a physical object sort of aesthetic, there's the reviews and all that, and how many people are buying things and whatnot. Pardon? But on a specifically social level, you can take what happens in these live settings and showcase it on social media by the images you post, the things that you post and share and tag people in. I mean, there's a reason why, so you said Leah makes those covers, right?
Yep.
There's a reason the artists share her back.
Yeah.
Because on their end, it shows like, hey, we have fans that love our music enough to recreate this music.
Yeah, it's content being made for free for them.
Exactly. It's social proof that, hey, this music has value, people care about it, and they're recreating it. And you can do the same thing as well. If your fans are doing anything cool about your shows or taking pictures before the venue or saying, hey, we're excited, or you're wearing all the band shirts together, share it. If you're doing a meet and greet before or after the show, or people want to take pictures with you at the merch booth afterwards or whatnot, take that picture, share it. Even things, this can kind of bleed into the scarcity mindset a little bit too, but if you have a picture of your booth before the show and a picture of after the show saying, hey, it was a successful night, people really loved our stuff, I'll make sure to come to the next show before it runs out. That shows, hey, it's popular, and also we have a limited amount of it.
Right.
So you can start combining these things together. But even just pictures of the crowd being attentive at your show, having crowd shots shows that people are here to listen.
Yep.
It's not just me at an empty bar, there's things going on.
Yeah.
And that's where it's really powerful to increase your charisma on stage, to keep people there, and to try to share tickets and do shows with people who are popular in your scene and do have a following that you can kind of utilize what they have going on to help build up your own stuff.
Yep, absolutely. This is a great point, actually, because there are a lot of bands that do this, especially when they're maybe starting to be above mid-tier. They're starting to reach that upper echelon of artists, right? So I'm thinking of a band called Avenged Sevenfold. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of them. They have a song called Unholy Confessions. The video is of them and the shows that they played, the fans that they've had, recorded and everything. The song does not fit the video, like, at all. Like, in my opinion, like, they could have, like, done some sort of theatrical thing, right, or whatever. But they chose to do this because there's a lot of social proof and people enjoying their music, wanting to be a part of it, right?
I guarantee you there's comments on the video saying, oh, is that that show?
Yep, exactly, because they were a part of that, right? They were a part of that moment in time, and we've talked about that before in the past, too, as being a part of that one time where you can be like, dude, I was there. Like, that is super special to me. My friend Eric, who's coming out with an album soon, he just did a video. And in the video, he has people starting to flock to him towards the middle. Like, more people join in as the video goes on. So that way, like, there's an extra social proof backing them up, like people having a good time. If they enjoy it, You're going to enjoy it. Excellent point you brought up. It just sparked so many different videos in my head. But that's a great way to do it. Caveat, though, can also be a negative, too, a little bit. Like, let's say you have 5 people at the show, and they're all standing there. You have people walking in and out of the frame. The video's very low budget.
You pick and choose on how exactly you're going to utilize this.
Yeah, probably not awesome to do.
A better way to do it is if you only have like a handful of fans and maybe they don't all come to your shows all at the same time, it's going to take a longer time to put this project together, but try to encourage fans like to send themselves lip singing to one of your songs or whatnot and make a compilation video of all your fans singing your song.
Yeah.
Things like that. Because it shows like, oh, these people are in there.
That's awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
And it can be done on their own time.
Exactly. It can be done on their own time. It's going to take a longer time for you. It's going to take more editing and work for you.
Yep.
And it's not going to be consistent with the framing and whatnot throughout it, but that's part of the charm of ground up videos like this.
Yep.
But especially if you're posting it on social media, you don't want to go past like 20 to a minute.
Yeah.
You don't have to have your whole song. So you can take 10, 20 people doing this and fill in a 20 to a minute long video. And it looks like, oh, there's all these people singing along this song. There's a fan base there, even though it's only a handful of people. So there's ways you can kind of be creative and cut around it where you don't need a whole bunch of people coming onto the floor during your live show and partying and going crazy. There's other things you can do.
Yep.
Especially if your shows aren't that vibe.
Great point. Because I was super negative right there. I'm not trying to discourage anybody if you only have 5 fans or whatever the case may be, right?
I was editing the last episode and there's a point where you say something like, or this is your last episode. And I'm like, Brandon, don't. Downer, I like you less.
I know.
And I'm editing it and I'm like,
it was supposed to just be a joke.
I'm so mean that I said that.
It was just a joke.
But I'm like,
and I was like, damn, like maybe I shouldn't have said it.
No.
It's just my personality.
Well, no, but it was a joke, and I felt bad because I'm like, I said a joke, and it was just really funny.
I cried after the episode. It was no big deal.
Me too. I was in the car. I'm like, oh, I was mean to my friend. I was mean to my friend.
Stop.
But yeah, that's kind of how you can use it at a show, socially, and all that. Really, the easiest way to get this going is if you have something that your music is about, something you're trying to say, something you're trying to embark upon with these people that they can attach themselves to. If you can make your art and your music kind of a movement, not necessarily like this huge thing, but if you have something you want to say that brings people together, emphasize that, make it a movement that people want to attach themselves to, they want to participate in and whatnot. Yeah. That's why artists that have a lot of, theatrical aspects to them really get in-depth fans that want to create this content for them, that have a really sharp style, that have something they want to say about their album that can really speak emotionally to people. There's so many examples of bands that do this. So if you can make it so there's a story behind it, or even like behind the scenes, just like tell a story. If you do the waterfall method, we talk about how to release your music in one of our earlier episodes. If you do the waterfall method and build a story amongst your song release that you can then have your fans go into and talk about and do theories about or whatever the hell. Yep. That's a way to make people more engaged and more involved and build that social proof because they're interacting with you. So that's kind of the end of that. Yep. I'm going to move on to how they can also kind of have negative connotations to it.
Yeah. Womp womp. Negative Brandon coming. Here he comes. What was it? Dark Brandon or something like that?
Was it?
It's like the Joe Biden meme or something like that. Here it comes.
Here it comes.
No,
all right.
I'm just kidding. There's only a couple really that we kind of came up with. Well, we don't like to harp on the negative stuff. And we've kind of sprinkled it in here and there along the episode. So
this is going to be kind of shorter.
Yeah. We'll just talk about some very specific things and then I think we'll be set on that.
Pretty much. But like anything, there's positives and negatives. So
Absolutely. First one is reputation. Reputation can be a great thing as long as it precedes you well, and then it can be a not so great thing if it doesn't precede you well. People could not like you. Oh, what is it? I'll say that in a second. But people could not like you if other people talk bad about you. It's like the Yelp review. 1-star reviews. All of a sudden you're like, I don't know if I like this place just based off of the experience of others, right?
Yeah. Even if my friend highly recommended me going to a restaurant, if it's got 60 reviews and it's 1.3 stars, even if they're like, this food's amazing, dude, it's underrated, you got to go. I'm probably not going.
Yeah. Most likely not. Most likely not, unless it's like a really like trusted friend and they know the owner or something.
Like maybe I'll go with you, but I'm not going by myself. I'm definitely not taking my significant other with me.
Exactly. But do you see how many stipulations started coming up now? Like, and now you're starting to make concessions about going, and you're like, well, as long as this is like this and this is like that, maybe I'll consider going. And like, that's not even a for sure you're going to go. It's still like a maybe we'll see kind of thing. That's not a good thing to have. Slight caveat. We do have the asterisks here. People say any press is good press. That obviously includes bad press. Very slippery slope. I just wanted to mention that real quick. It's a very slippery slope at this point. Tread carefully and do it wisely. That's all I got to say about that one. The next one we already kind of touched on.
Yeah,
we're just
do
gonna
not do what Brandon's about to talk about. For the love of God, do not do what you want to talk about. There's 2 things we want to impress on this episode. 1, don't do what Brandon's about to talk about. And 2, please wear earplugs. Please wear earplugs.
Oh, yeah, the earplugs thing is really important.
Yeah, nothing to do with this video, but please, I see so many artists that don't wear earplugs. Anyways,
don't do what I'm about to say, though. Buy your likes, buy reviews, and buy your followers. Don't do that. I just told you to do it. Don't do it. It's a really bad way to kind of abuse social proof at this point. We've talked about some of the consequences that can happen from doing this. Not only that, it makes you look like shit. It really does. The perception of value that somebody gets from you at that point is significantly diminished, especially if they know how to look at it or look for it. And there are also tools these days to help weed out those fakers out there. So be very careful and don't do that. Like, please, like, just be as authentic as you can throughout your pursuit. There are other ways to buy followers, right? Through like very targeted ad campaigns and you know, things of that nature, right? There are better converters out there than just buying it at face value.
Yeah. And to be honest, you know, we get it, especially if you're just starting off. You can see all these other artists around here that inspire you, that are huge, that have all this engagement. And maybe you've been doing this for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and the numbers just aren't going up. It can be really disheartening.
It's very frustrating.
Actually put a lot of time into it.
Yeah. And you care about it an awful lot, which I'm sure everybody does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You don't want to take that shortcut because there's so many negatives that come to it. And if you have been doing it for a couple of years and you are building momentum, if you get caught and all your shit gets wiped off, like we talked about, now you're starting from ground 1 again. You're just hindering yourself moving from that point forward. And also, what's the saying? Like, if you have a block of ice and it's 28 degrees, it's a block of ice. So you're slowly heating up the room. You're slowly heating up the block of ice. Now it's 29 degrees, still ice. 30 degrees, still ice. 31 degrees, still ice. 32 degrees, still ice. 33 degrees, water. It completely changed its state of being. But would 1 degree of increase cause that to happen? No, because it started off at 28.
Exactly.
It takes all that time going up to it. So if you're consistent and putting out good stuff and feeding it and putting energy into it, heating up the ice cube, eventually, you know, things will happen and start picking up to where expectations are. But we get it. It's fucking hard. But please,
it's really tough. And it's very tempting. I mean, $6.99, you can get 200 followers, right? And it's like, well, that's really quick and easy, and it makes me look better, right? Especially to potential clients, potential listeners, whatever. Don't be tempted by it. Don't be tempted by it. It just doesn't look good. And like we said, there are ways people vet this nowadays. And I mean, really take note that labels are not falling for this these days at all. Like this, they have bullshit detectors and they can detect it very quick. So it's not going to get you anywhere really professionally. And it might not get you anywhere, or that might not get you too far at maybe a more local level, you know? So,
because you know what's worse than having 100 followers and 100 listens a month? Having 1,000 followers and 100 listens a month.
Yeah. Does not look good.
Does not look good.
Does not look good.
Does not look good.
Or like 1,000 followers and 3 likes on your Instagram post. Yeah. Not a good look. Not a good look. I'm glad you mentioned this last one though, coming up. We're about to talk about. Bless you. I was going to say something about AI, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. What do you have to say about AI with this one?
I was just saying, like, we're in a currently constantly changing thing. So like literally ChatGPT, what's the company that makes them again?
I don't know.
Well, the people who make ChatGPT just released a trailer for their new, I think it's called Sora, which is a new video from text rendering tool. It's not released to the public yet, but they released the trailer for it. And holy shit, does it look good.
Really?
It looks
What's
really
it called?
good. It's called Sora, I believe.
Kingdom Hearts Sora?
I think so.
Wow.
I don't know exactly how it's typed out, but that's and I could have the name wrong. I just learned about this morning because they announced it like yesterday or 2 days ago when we were recording this. But they released a movie trailer that was generated just from text, and it looks really good.
Wow.
There's still mistakes here and there, things that are wrong where you can tell, but holy shit, does it look good. And there's no regulation. There's nothing going on here. We have no idea what's going to happen in the short term with AI, especially with how exponential the growth has been. So these tools, who knows how the concepts can be used to create social proofing or what's real or what's not. Like if you can do voice generation, be like, hey, we have this video posted out of all these different fans singing the lyrics to our song. Down the line, when voice generation becomes really realistic, you could have a bunch of fake people singing your song to be like, hey, we have a bunch of fans. And that's a lot harder to tell than likes with no one listening or follows with no one listening. It's like, oh, but there's actually people singing the song.
Yep.
Or with generative refill in Photoshop, you can add people to the crowds of your shows and things like that.
Yep.
It's going to be harder and harder to tell what's true and what's not. So social proofing will be easier and easier for people to fake to help manipulate.
Great point.
So that's another reason why this is a good time to learn about it and start being like,
and mind you, like Sean said, we're still early on in this. Like next year at this time, maybe we'll do another episode that maybe has something that came out, but it'll be more impressive next year. And just think in 2 years, it'll be even more impressive. I saw some kind of comparison on TikTok, the AI generated videos versus today's, night and day. Like incredibly scary today. Before it was like faces were all mangled and stuff, and you couldn't get a clear frame shot or whatever. Nowadays they look like fucking movie trailers. It's insane. It's scary, but it's insane.
But it's also cool because
It's
also
very
at the same
cool.
time,
Yep.
if used properly, who knows what kind of stuff you can do with it.
Yes,
what kind
the
of cool shit can come
responsibility
out.
falls on us to use AI properly. So we should be morally condemned to use it well.
Yeah.
And
So this
wisely.
segment's going to age us a little bit, this episode.
Yeah,
but we'll see where it
definitely.
goes from here.
Yeah,
We'll see where it goes from here.
absolutely. We're very AI like purists. We're like yes, use it for good.
It's a tool.
And I like that. Like you said, it's a tool. Yep,
Yeah.
great point. Like auto-tune is a tool.
Exactly.
Use it wisely.
Don't use it. I'm just kidding. We had this, I forget what episode it was, but we had this whole rant where I'm just like, it's hilarious.
It's great.
Because
It's great.
I don't dislike it. I really don't. I just dislike how it's used oftentimes for when the way I work with it.
That's
but with
fair.
that said, I think that kind of closes
think
it with
so.
social proofing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Which leads into the final section that we do in every single episode where we ask you to please like us, follow us, share us around, help increase our numbers so that more people are interested in listening and checking out what we have and growing and building up their careers as independent artists and musicians. So if you have any musician friends that you think could benefit from what we do here, please send them a link so they can listen to it.
Yeah.
Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. We've got specific stuff made for all those different platforms as well that aren't just completely related to the podcast. And moving forward, we're going to be having some more interesting stuff on YouTube going up, full video things and whatnot.
Yeah.
I've personally got a song coming out of mid-March, so I'm going to be talking about it when it releases.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be kind of implementing all the things that we talk about so I can have a hands-on experience going forward. It's going to be a little bit delayed here, so I have time to analyze the information and talk about it here. But if you want to follow along that journey and kind of see this stuff applied, not just us talking about it, and get updates as it goes on, you can check that out.
Yeah.
Brandon, you got anything that you want them to follow around or check out to support you or whatnot?
No, I don't have anything right at the current moment.
He has great resources on his website.
I do have some good resources on my website. If you want to go to studio222.com or studio222recording.com/resources, there are a couple things that I put up there.
Yep. We also have links to that on our Instagram.
Yep.
so
I
you
have a
can-
couple blog posts that have been a little bit helpful to studio222recording.com/blog that you can kind of go to and find some extra information. I'm working on a blog post right now, actually, so which is kind of cool. So hopefully I'll finish that eventually. It's more centric towards the music production experience, though. So there's not really artist focused, but like is at the same time. But we'll have future posts there that are more artist focused and centric. Not only that, but I will hold on my end of the bargain and do a song this year too. Swear to God.
Hey,
I
let's
swear.
do it.
I will.
Let's
I
do
will.
it.
I will.
Last thing I'm going to say
it's
is
February.
if you,
It's February 21st, so I got to remember.
yeah,
Yeah.
you got it. You got a lot of time.
Thank you.
We'll make it work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And then the last thing I'm going to say about that is if you do want one-on-one coaching for artist development and whatnot, that's something I do offer. You can check out my website, swsrecordings.com, and I'd love to talk to you about kind of what your career is, where you're at, and kind of moving on from there and a more personal one-on-one sort of aspect of it. With that all being said, thank you for listening to this
Thank you.
podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for sticking around, especially in the end. We know it's that's usually when most people drop off.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you sticking this out, listening to us, supporting us. We really, really appreciate you. We like you. We appreciate you. All this sort of stuff.
Yep.
That,
Don't buy your followers.
don't buy your followers. And tune back in next week for an episode about authority.
Ooh. Bon appetit.